It's June 8th, 2026, and something happened in southwestern Iran this morning that most coverage is getting wrong. Not because the facts are hidden, the facts are public, but because the strategic logic behind what Israel actually did is more consequential than the explosions themselves. Drop your country in the comments right now. Just before dawn, multiple munitions struck the Khuzestan Petrochemical Company in Mahshahr, a port city at the top of the Persian Gulf. Mahshahr is not random. It is one of the most strategically concentrated chemical production zones on the planet. The complex that was hit is not just a factory. It is feedstock infrastructure for Iran's ballistic missile program. That distinction matters enormously. Within hours, the Israeli Air Force confirmed the strike. The targets included the Mahshahr complex and multiple sites across Iran's Khuzestan province. Israeli television reported up to 20 targets struck in a single coordinated operation spanning Isfahan, Tabriz, and Mahshahr, three cities hundreds of kilometers apart, hit in the same wave. Now, you need to understand the sequence that led here. Roughly 24 hours before the Mahshahr strike, Israel hit Hezbollah positions in Beirut. Iran had warned that any Israeli strike on Lebanon would draw a direct Iranian response. That warning was not a bluff. Iran followed through. The IRGC launched approximately 30 ballistic missiles at Israel. Here is what actually happened. Most were intercepted. The ones that were not intercepted fell without causing damage. Iran fired 30 ballistic missiles, and the material result was close to zero. Think about what that costs in strategic credibility. Iran's entire deterrence posture rests on the threat that its ballistic missile arsenal is too large to absorb. When 30 missiles produce zero meaningful damage, that posture takes a serious hit. Israel read that moment clearly. Monday morning, Israel's response came in coordinated waves. The first wave went after the air defense systems Iran had rebuilt. You do not lead with the petrochemical plant. You lead with the radars protecting it. Only after those defenses are suppressed do you bring in the heavier munitions. That sequencing tells you this was a planned operation, not a reactive one. What aircraft did this? Israel used a combination of F-15Is and F-35I Adirs. The F-15I carries a heavy payload of standoff weapons, but it cannot walk into heavily defended Iranian airspace alone. That is where the F-35 comes in. It flies ahead, passively mapping Iranian air defense radars. The moment an Iranian radar turns on, it broadcasts its own position. The F-35 reads that signal, passes coordinates to the F-15Is, and those F-15Is destroy the radar site. The system that was supposed to defend the factory becomes the first thing destroyed. This is why the factory wasn't hit on day one. Suppressing Iranian air defenses takes time. Day 1, you hit exposed air defense nodes. Day 30, you hit the next layer. By day 100, you go after industrial infrastructure. The Mahshahr strike is a day 100 strike. Now here is what changes the strategic picture. Iran's ballistic missile program does not run on launchers alone. A launcher without a missile is a truck. What makes Iran dangerous is the missile itself. And missiles require chemical precursors processed through exactly the kind of dual-use petrochemical infrastructure that just got struck. You can destroy every arrow an army has and they will make more. But if you destroy the facility that produces the arrowheads, now you have attacked the production rate itself. Iran has been firing missiles throughout this conflict. Every salvo draws down a stockpile that takes months or years to replace. The US naval blockade chokes imported precursors, and now the domestic facility that was supposed to bridge that gap is a smoke column. Iran is spending missiles faster than it can replace them. Iran have left. Open source estimates suggest Iran's ballistic missile stockpile is down to between a fifth and a quarter of its pre-conflict inventory. That is still a significant number. But Iran has moved remaining missiles into hardened underground facilities, bunkers built into mountain rock. Getting to them requires munitions like the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a weapon designed to punch through reinforced rock. It exists in the American inventory. Its existence is part of the deterrence calculus. After the strikes, Iran suspended operations and warned of crushing measures. Trump posted that both sides are looking at an immediate ceasefire. The Houthis declared the Red Sea closed to Israeli shipping. Those statements cannot both be fully true. Here is the structural crack exposed. The regime's core interests are lift the US naval blockade, stabilize its currency, and preserve enough missile capacity for leverage. It does not want a war it cannot win. It wants a deal it can survive politically at home. Trump's leverage is the blockade. It is an economic stranglehold. Iran's oil exports run through maritime routes the blockade interdicts. Every week the blockade holds Iran's foreign currency reserves shrink. The impossible dilemma Iran faces: fire more missiles and accelerate the depletion of an inventory you cannot replenish, or accept a deal and signal to hardliners that 100 days of conflict produced a worse position. Neither path is clean. What happened in Mahshahr is not a one-off strike. It is a doctrine shift. For 100 days, the targeting logic was about degrading Iran's ability to fire. Today's strike is about degrading Iran's ability to replace what it fires. That is more consequential. If it continues, Iran's missile ceiling will drop in ways very difficult to reverse. The question for the next 72 hours, does Iran come back to the table or does this exchange cycle repeat? Drop your country in the comments. If this breakdown gave you something you could not get elsewhere, hit subscribe. This is Informed Empire. Stay sharp.